So the XDefiant open beta kicks off again in a few days, the 21st for all players, the 20th for those that were able to play the closed beta a few months back. In anticipation of that launch for the new beta, Mark Rubin, executive producer at Ubisoft, heading up this project, has been incredibly vocal on Twitter to give a bit more insight about what to expect with the open beta and beyond towards launch. Still an unspecified date, but coming up no less. Today we're going to run down what you need to know that's new here with the XDefiant world, and honestly, it's some pretty good news in my opinion. If the title of this video reflects anything like that statement, I know I've been kind of saying it the last couple of videos, but I mean, it's true. Each update we talk about, it keeps bringing good news. As we go along, drop your thoughts down below, and if you enjoy the video, find it at all insightful, or you're at all excited to get hands-on with XDefiant, again, drop a like on the video, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things XDefiant and other FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community. And finally, check out my friends over at G Fuel for 30% off certain items in the month of June, but more on that a little later. For now, let's jump into the good news about XDefiant and what you need to know. Before we get into the sort of meat and potatoes of everything, first I kind of want to clear the air and address probably an elephant in the room visually. Sincerest apologies on this, but you may have noticed a handful of the same gameplays in each of the videos recently because, well, my gameplay bank ran out rather quickly, so really looking forward to this upcoming weekend to stock back up on new footage. But if you're like, I feel like I've seen this before, you'd be right. You're not crazy. Again, sorry for that, but working with what I got. But the first piece of information to discuss in regards to XDefiant and the updates overall is one that I'm sure that a lot of people are really looking forward to, because in the COD scene, we've been asking for it since Modern Warfare 2019, though honestly, in the COD scene, I'm kind of convinced we're never going to see it return at this point, but at least XDefiant will have it, that being a classic prestige system. In response to a question asking, will there be a prestige system, Mark Rubin replied simply with, we're working on a classic prestige system for after we launch. So two things we can take away from this. Number one, it is coming. COD fans, you have yet another feature that plays like the classic COD games you may want to relive with this game and hope it all lives up to be. And that's something that I think we can all get excited about. But secondly, after launch. So what does that mean? Personally, based off of everything that we've heard about the project so far, I'm really not stressing too much about this just yet, but while not specified, I'd kind of imagine it's similar to what we've seen in the COD space the last couple of years to a degree, not fully, but more so done in a classic and maybe proper nature. So after launch, we have to remember that XDefiant's launching later this summer, but after that, we have a 6-week preseason leading up to the Season 1 launch. But with the launch of the game overall, I would not be surprised if some things are still in the developmental pipeline. I mean, I could be totally wrong here in my assumption, but before they announced at the Ubisoft conference, I was not expecting them to launch XDefiant this year, let alone this summer. So those extra 6 weeks could very well be ironing out things either with launch or ahead of Season 1 and the content coming later on down the line, which at that point, that's when I would kind of expect that classic prestige system to launch at Season 1, where there might be some kind of level cap or something you can grind out here with the launch in those 6 weeks post-launch as well, but then moving through the ranks fully with Season 1 and the Year 1 support. Just an assumption, don't take that as gospel, but that's how I interpreted the statement personally. Could be wrong, but we'll see. But while not at launch, I'm okay with a potential 6-week delay on that if we can get a proper system in place by Season 1. Next, another thing that was reiterated and confirmed here is cross-progression on XDefiant. That being something where you can jump from Xbox to PlayStation to PC and all of your stuff will be there all the same. Confirmed simply by Rubin saying, yes, we will have cross-progression. This is a small but really important thing to perhaps a small few of the player populace, but myself, being in that group, I can really appreciate this kind of stuff. For me, it's a wildly different reason that I want cross progression compared to most perhaps. Like, I fully get the whole premise of having this is to have all your content transfer if you want to switch platforms, play with different friends on a different platform, upgrade from last gen to current gen. But to me, playing on PC, I do it as just a sheer convenience thing, because while I play on PC, I also do all my editing and content work on that same PC. I don't want to have to boot up the game, tab out and go back to different programs, toggling back and forth. So instead, I'll end up having it open on my console monitor next to my main monitor, where I have it booted up on PlayStation 5. I can do all my recording, editing, and VO and all that kind of stuff while looking at that monitor, not tabbing back and forth between stuff. So again, like I said, very different use than most in my case, but I'm a huge fan that it is coming back. Also, in regards to it, I don't really see any sort of downside to that. Maybe I'm missing something glaring, but really I just think it's a positive all around to add to your project. So really happy to see that coming back. Input-based matchmaking was elaborated on a little bit here in regards to Mark Rubin's statements. We did hear about this beforehand, so that in particular is not necessarily new, but seeing more confirmation of it, seeing more discussion on it, absolutely great. For those unaware what input-based matchmaking is, it's simply you're going to be matched up with other inputs like what you are using. So let's just say you play on PlayStation 5 with a controller. You'll probably be matched up with other controller players. If you play on PC with a controller, you'll get matched up with other controller players. Now, if you play keyboard and mouse on PlayStation PlayStation 5, you'll be matched up with other keyboard and mouse players. That was something that was mentioned way back in Modern Warfare 2019 pre-launch and never came to be. So happy to see that this is actually going to be a thing within XDefiant, assuming there's going to also be some controls. If you don't care, you could probably turn it off, but that's just a little bit of speculation at the moment. The one thing though that is new to this information about input-based matchmaking is that it will not be here on launch of the open beta come this week, but it is still targeted for the launch of the game later this summer. So that's something, if you're hoping to get a little bit of a feel for what's upcoming with this open beta, that's unfortunately one thing that will not be there, but there's a whole host of other changes that will be. And real quickly, one thing that also goes usually hand in hand with a discussion about matchmaking and input-based matchmaking is that Mark Rubin once again did confirm that there will be no skill-based matchmaking in casual play. All the skill-based matchmaking will only be in the ranked play modes that they introduce here, come with the launch and post-launch. So that's something, if you want to end up just playing straight for your network connection, you will be. You'll have lobbies where you can end up doing some stomping, but also oppositely, you could have matches where you get stomped. It really is just the luck of the draw. But that's what classic Call of Duty was back in the day. That's what XDefiant looks to capture here, and that's why I think a lot of people are really looking forward to the matchmaking of multiplayer with this. So just a confirmation, there will be no skill-based matchmaking within XDefiant here upcoming. Another thing further expanded upon was 120 Hz gameplay here coming with this, where it is something that Mark Rubin described a little bit about the basics of how this will end up working. There's scalars for different platforms, whether you want to play on 4K, 1440p, 1080p, and of course, to end up achieving 120 Hz output, you need a monitor that does support it. So that's some of the basic stuff here with this, reiterating that this will be coming, and honestly, I love that. For console players, that's great. PC, of course, able to achieve that kind of stuff, but once you play on 120 Hz, 240 Hz, you can never go back to regular 60. Like, it's a game changer. So if you guys have not played it already on 120 Hz, if you have hardware that does support it, try it out, because truly, it's a game changer. Beyond that, we learned of a couple of other smaller things, like the eventual competitive side introduced here with esports later on down the line, custom controls for keybinds and all that kind of stuff on controller, and HUD elements being fully customized, though that's not something that's going to be there for launch, and other things. It was just really nice to see even more information, again, so close to the open beta. This could be something that Mark Rubin could just say, hey, we're going to wait until the beta itself, then we'll talk about this kind of stuff. But he seems as keen as anybody to end up getting the information out there, letting people see the game and play the game. So I've said it so many times before, man, I am a huge fan of the continued communication here. That is the greatest thing here out of all of this, is just having a line of communication where the developers are talking directly with the community. Like, that's so refreshing, and it's great to see. And I think, honestly, that builds that trust in the development team, that builds the hype and interest in the game. So I love that kind of stuff, man. But that is where we're at here. That is the recent updates to XDefiant. We're gonna have a video breaking down everything you need to know here ahead of the launch of the open beta, probably coming on Monday, so keep an eye out for that, for everything you need to know about how you can access the game, what's going to be coming with the game, and so on and so forth. But for now, that's what we're gonna call it. So let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like the sound of these additions and changes coming with XDefiant? Are you looking forward to getting hands-on with this once again? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But before we wrap everything up, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel for 20% off all the time with code Espresso, but 30% off certain items in the month of June, like the tubs of hype sauce, hibiscus tea, MS melon, and more, as well as starter kits. So if you haven't tried G Fuel before, now is as best a time as any, since starter kits are discounted and those tubs can't go wrong with any of those. I've mentioned it plenty of times before, but hype sauce is a top 3 flavor for me. It's actually what I'm drinking right now as I'm making this video. So can't go wrong with that, or plenty of others. Again, check the link in the description below if you guys are at all interested, and use code Espresso for 30% off your entire order. But that said, that is what we're gonna call it. Drop your thoughts once again. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay updated with all things XDefiant, Modern Warfare 2, other FPS content, and plenty of other stuff. I'd love to have you in the community, but thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.